Hi, guys, and welcome back to our podcast. This is episode 6.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you believe it? I am Paige.
And I'm Cyndi.
And this is Mom's the Word.
Where mom knows best.
Or at least she is trying her best.
So, how exhausted are you today?
I'm always tired.
Every day.
I'm always tired.
I've had a rough couple of days as a
Kick him up behind. How old is your foster son?
He is 9 months old, which I cannot believe. Like, that's insane to me.
It feels like
and so I'm just getting out of the newborn stage. You're still in it. Thick of it.
I'm 5 months.
I'm like there. Like, we're sleeping through the night, but I'm still exhausted.
You are so good, though, at putting babies down to sleep. Cyndi is like the baby whisperer whenever it comes to putting them to bed.
It has taken a while. I had my first bear, my bio son, who was draining, the hardest child I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Yes. And then since then, I've had 6 newborns since I'm a foster parent. And I was telling Paige just the other day that I've been a foster parent for 4 years and I've had 6 newborns. So I've gone through the newborn stage every 8 months, something like that. And so I start over a lot. And so I've had to become the baby whisperer. I can tell you that because as a foster parent, you can't co-sleep or have your baby sleep on you. You have to sleep train them in the crib or bassinet.
Right.
And so I've learned real quickly how to soothe some babies.
All the tricks of the trade, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to give us an exclusive episode of how to put the baby to sleep.
Yeah.
I feel like
y'all want something like that? I will.
That's a lot. That's a lot to learn. Oh, man. So with Bear, did you get pregnant right away?
Absolutely not.
No?
No. So I struggled for 2 years to get pregnant with Bear. And I was young, so I was thinking, what was wrong with me? So I went to a fertility doctor.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Oh, wow.
I knew something was wrong. We started trying at 23. I'm so sorry. I went to a fertility doctor at 24. Okay. And so, it went really quickly, too, because I thought there couldn't be anything wrong with me. I thought, I'm at this healthy age, and my husband is, we were young. And when I went there, they were like, you have PCOS. So that's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Okay. So what that means is I do not produce eggs, healthy eggs, as well as other women do.
Okay.
And so that was a struggle. And I actually got pregnant 2 months later because I got put onto Clomid, which is a fertility drug. Okay. And 2 months later, I was pregnant with Bear.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a great success story for fertility, but now I haven't been able to conceive for 7 years. So
you've been trying ever since?
Ever since.
Are you still on the medication?
I am not. I've taken a break. It took a big toll on my body. Okay. And so we've taken breaks. We will be trying soon again. I like to take for my mental health a little bit of time off.
Of course.
And so, especially when I get newborns because it is rough. But I feel like I'm always going to continue to try because I would love to have another child. But
have a big family.
It is something that affects my mental health a lot that I don't talk about that often. That makes me very emotional to speak on.
You even focus your diet around your PCOS. I know that because I've seen you doing certain vitamins and things every day for it.
Yeah, so I feel like I've tried a lot of things. So I've always been a plus size girl, but my levels come back really well. I've always been active. I played college softball, things like that. And so trying to navigate your hormones is a whole nother ballgame. Yeah, so we want to take the next stages into what's next. So we've tried Clomid and things like that. And so we have not tried IVF yet, but that is on our radar for 2024 as to something we may consider.
Something to consider.
That's right.
Well, that's an exciting journey that we'll have to talk about whenever the time comes.
Yes. But so the newborn stage is not new to me, but you are in the thick of the newborn stage right now.
Yes, and it is kind of new to me. This is only my second time doing this.
Yes.
And you're no expert. I feel like I'm a little bit better than I was the first time just because I'm not as anxious.
Right.
The first time, oh my goodness, I couldn't even put Boston in a swing without putting the owlet sock on him because I was just like, is he breathing? Staring at him. I couldn't go to the bathroom, couldn't take a shower, forget that 20 minutes. I didn't want it. I didn't want to be away from him. And I also had such bad postpartum anxiety, which is something I feel like we don't talk about a lot.
Oh, no, I had it too.
Oh, my goodness. I was so concerned about postpartum depression that I didn't really realize that there was any
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Postpartum anxiety.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Me neither.
So then whenever everything happened, I was like, what am I feeling? Why do I feel like the sky is falling all the time?
Why am I scared all the time?
Terrified.
Yes.
I remember the ride home from the hospital. I was like, Mark, his head's moving too much.
Oh
the car is shaking his body too much.
Yes.
And I was so terrified of the movement of the car giving my baby shaken baby syndrome. And obviously that's not how it works. But as a new mom, my anxiety was certain that that is what was going to happen and that he was going to get hurt that way. And it was just so heavy. And then just obviously I'm a little different. My brain's a little different as my anxiety turned to OCD. But in
Right.
the very beginning, it was genuinely more anxiety.
Yes.
But like if I walked down the stairs holding Boston,
Yeah.
I would push my body up against the wall and hold him, cling him to me because I could picture myself falling and accidentally hurting him.
Yes.
And I was so incredibly terrified of that, on
Yeah.
top of being exhausted, figuring out this new schedule, this new baby, my body, everything's changed. The first day my husband went back to work,
Oh my goodness.
Cried.
Crying. I cried
cried.
too.
I was like, how am I going to do this
Yes.
alone?
That
How?
first baby,
Mm.
oh, it's rough.
I feel like 0 to 1 is harder than
0
1
to
to
1.
2.
Because you're letting go of all you were
Yeah.
and having to take care of this whole being in front of you right now while also like having hormones and you're bleeding and there's just all of these things that are so hard.
Not a pretty sight.
No, and for me, I struggled bad, you guys, with postpartum anxiety. So I didn't have it when I first delivered Bear. He was healthy baby, and we brought him home in less than 24 hours. He struck a fever, 102.
Oh, no.
And then they, rushed him to the emergency room, and they said spinal tap, and that was it for my brain. So my 2-year-old baby had to have a spinal tap and ended up having a staph infection. And he only could have got it from that hospital that I had to take him back to. And he was in the NICU for 14 days, and I didn't sleep for 14 days.
I believe it.
I couldn't eat, and so I couldn't breastfeed. I felt like I was failing.
Of
So my
course.
anxiety ever since then has never left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. With Boston, I feel like it really clicked in.
Yeah.
I was getting anxiety about the labor, but not really about the baby. It was more like, how am I going to push this thing out? But then whenever I had him, he had jaundice. I remember we were getting ready to go home, and the nurse said, "Oh, you look a little orange." And I was like, not thinking anything of it. And she was like, "I bet his bilirubin may be a little high." So they checked him, and he had jaundice. And they said, "Okay, we're going to keep you another day.
Yeah.
And he's going to go into this light box.
Yeah.
And every 3 hours, you can hold him for 15 minutes.
So hard.
And that is it."
Yeah.
And it was so hard to sit next to him as he cried in that light and not being able to pick him up and only being able to put my hand in there and "It's okay, baby, it's okay." And not being able to take him out of there to comfort him and put him up against me was so incredibly hard. And then the next day I'm like, "Okay, we're going home.
Yeah.
This is done." And they were like, "His levels aren't ready." And then the next day, his levels aren't ready. And finally, on day 4, we were able to go home. But I just remember thinking,
Oh my gosh.
I want my baby.
Forever. It
I
feels
just
like
want my
forever.
baby. And then with Juliet, with my daughter, her blood sugar was very low. And within the first hour, they took her to the NICU. There is nothing like, I will say, there is just nothing like that moment of the procedure of that nurse walking you to the NICU. Where they walk you into this secluded area that is entry only.
Yes.
And going down that hallway.
I can literally
that
vividly.
long hallway.
Yeah, it sticks with you
I
vividly.
can see it. I can see the signs on the walls, everything. And
Smell
they
it.
Open the doors. Here's where you'll come in. You need to pick up this phone. Tell them who you're here for. You're going to walk into this room, put a mask on. You'll wash your hands. Then you can approach your baby. These are your hold times.
So
These are your
hard.
non-hold times. It is so
as you're sweating with a diaper
hard.
on and like
literally trying to figure out my body.
Yes.
And my body is like, where's my baby?
Yearning.
Because I needed my baby.
Yes.
With Juliet, I would barely sleep. Barely sleep. I mean, like I would stay there there was 3-hour windows. So I would stay there. I would eat breakfast, wake up 6:30, eat breakfast. She had a 7 a.m. feeding time. So I would be there 7 a.m.
Yep.
And I would hold her all the way until
Yes.
her 2 p.m. put down time.
Yes.
And then I'd put her down and I would go eat lunch. And then I would turn around and go right back. And I would typically try to take myself a little cat nap in there, but never fully fell asleep just because you really can't. You cannot relax. There's no such thing.
You can't.
And then turn around and just go right back in there and spend the entire night with her until I got too exhausted at about 5 a.m. And I would go back and I would sleep from 5 to about 6:30. And then I would get back up and I wanted my baby. I couldn't sleep with her not being in the same room.
This flushes back so many memories because I didn't get to stay with my baby.
I could not have left that hospital.
No, so we went home and so I wasn't still admitted. So I had to leave him every day. And I remember calling like 6 a.m. How was his night? How was his night? And I remember walking in there day 2 and he had a port through his forehead. Like, it makes me so emotional to talk about now. And I remember thinking, like, something's wrong with my baby.
Right.
Like, you guys are treating him
And
like...
as a first-time
Oh,
mom.
my God. I was a wreck. And my poor husband, because I was a first-time mom and we didn't know. And so, like, that just flushed back so many things and I couldn't stay with him. I was able to stay throughout the day and hear all these nurses telling me how to, like, parent him, like, grabbing my boobie, putting it in his mouth. And I'm just like, oh, my God.
Trying so hard.
Oh, it was so hard. Yeah.
Oh,
man.
That's very rough.
It is very rough. And for me, my postpartum did and eventually start to go away. And so I didn't have to reach out and get on medication and things like that.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I absolutely did. I realized probably about 6 months in, I was having very bad, very dark thoughts about myself, thinking like, I'm not good at this. I'm never going to be good at this. And I have really messed up. I was not supposed to be a mom. This was not supposed to be my journey. And this kid would be better off without me. And so finally,
self-sabotage.
Yeah, finally I was like, I need to talk to somebody. And I remember going in and I had a nurse at my doctor's office that had known me since high school.
Mm-hmm.
And she could just see it all over my face that something was wrong. And she was like, let's talk. And honestly, I think she saved my life in a lot of ways.
I'm so glad you went in, though. That's the hardest.
Thankful that I was strong enough to go in. But at the same time, I don't know that I would have had I not had like an annual visit at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have voluntarily stood up and been like, something's wrong with me. Now, in my second pregnancy and in that journey, I knew if I feel myself getting that dark, I'm going to have to reach out. But in that first one, man, I really just thought I'm such a failure.
I'm glad somebody noticed it because I felt like at mine that they had no idea how I was feeling.
Like you were overlooked.
They were just like, are you done bleeding? Like, oh, for sure. Like, how are you doing? Like,
it's all about the baby.
Yeah. And I felt like if they would have just asked a certain way of a question that I could have just unraveled and maybe needed help got help that I needed that I didn't even know I needed.
Honestly, if somebody would have said, are you okay?
I know.
But no one even stopped to say,
right.
How are you
nobody
doing?
did for me either.
Yeah, it's all, how's the baby?
Yeah.
What's the percentile they're in? You know, like all of those things. It's never, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. And honestly, I feel like a lot of our generations now are kind of changing that.
Oh, yeah.
Where we really are prioritizing the mother's health.
Yeah,
and we are breaking that stigma of like, you have to be the perfect mom.
Yes.
So I do appreciate living in this time.
I agree.
Rather than in the older ages.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important, especially if you know a mom or if your wife is expecting or a best friend, anybody for you to just reach out and make sure that they're doing okay because some people hide it so well.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes sucking up your pride, which is already hard to do. But to also say like, I'm not doing well and I feel like I'm failing as a mom is a very hard thing to say because people are already so judgmental of moms and they're looking for a reason to call you a bad mom. Yes. So it's hard to say like, I need the help.
Yeah. Being more aware of the mom's feelings or just giving your more attention to that because a lot of people will say like, well, is the baby okay? Is the baby okay? But really, if you're pouring into that mom, that baby's going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's all we want to be okay. We aren't caring about ourselves. No. We're making sure our baby is fine. But if our mental health is not good, then that does reflect on our child.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it can be, heartbreaking. Something can happen that you didn't see signs for, unfortunately. So,
Mom's the Word podcast is recorded at the Museum of Neon Lights in Frisco, Texas.
It is a selfie studio open to the public.
Mention the podcast and you'll get an exclusive 10% off.
Oh, I just feel like for all of you moms out there who are going to be going through this for the first time, there are things that you should be doing to protect your mental health, especially if you're struggling with that before you have a child. Just know that you probably will struggle with it even more when you do have that child. Things will come up.
If there's somebody in your life that crosses your boundaries now, I've found that the people that crossed my boundaries before, I was able to accept it because they were just doing it to me. But once they crossed the boundary with my child, it was a whole other situation.
Yeah.
And then at that point, there's quite a few people I've cut off from my life because of that. Because ultimately, if you can't respect my boundary with my child, you can't be around me as a mother.
Yes.
And I am always a mother.
Yeah.
That's who I am first and foremost. So
what do you do for, to protect yourself through this newborn stage? What have you done? So, we hear a lot about asking for help. That's most important. But what can you do at home to make sure that you're filling your cup?
My husband and I have a system. And every day he comes home and he'll say, how much do you have? And we learned this online somewhere. He'd sent me somebody's TikTok, and he was like, I think we need to do this. And it has made all the difference.
I love that.
And he will come home and he'll be like, oh man, I had such a rough day. I've got about 50% in the tank today. And I will be like, you know what? I've got 80.
Yeah.
I'll make up for that extra that you're lacking, and I can pick up this
I
slack
love
here,
that.
or vice versa.
Yes.
We really are a unit and a team, and it makes me feel so bad for single parents because I genuinely don't know how I'd survive
I feel
without
the
my
same
husband.
way. Chris is literally gives me 100%.
Absolutely.
But it did take me sometimes telling him in the beginning, just saying it because they're becoming, or our husbands or partners are becoming first time parents as well.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they don't know. They don't know how you're feeling because I want to hold the baby all the time, but really I'm like, please come in, please tell me something. So voicing those things, sometimes teaching those things to people around you can be really helpful.
Yeah. Taking time for yourself too.
Yes,
Taking time
self-care.
for yourself is so important. And that doesn't mean you have to leave.
No.
That for me was a big thing, was like I was pushed constantly to take a break. It was always, can you leave the baby? Y'all go away for a weekend, things like that. And I realized very quickly that does not give me the break. I personally enjoy like a head to toe, all of the products shower. I'm a self-care shower type of girl. I love me a bath warmer, a warm towel, and a body scrub.
Where you're still available to the baby, but having your own time.
I'm within earshot.
Right.
So if something goes wrong, I'm okay to be there immediately. But at the same time, I can just kind of take a breath.
Yes.
And focus on me. And for me personally, that's what makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It doesn't for everybody.
No. So for me, like I do enjoy, of course, a full shower, but for me, I just want to be like in a room by myself with the door closed, like no stimulation. I need a mental break where I can just sit.
Just some quiet time.
Yes, because I'll get overstimulated really quickly because I am the main, everything falls on me. And so giving me that break, so Chris will, take them to the park, out of sight, out of mind. I'm at that point now in my motherhood where Chris can take them and I'm not, stressing about it. But before he would take them in the backyard or something, just so I can have 30 minutes of that, kind of like meditating. Like I would listen to podcasts or I would listen to like rain or something, just so I can step away out of that moment and have time for my own brain to calm down.
Right. I'm a book girl too.
Oh,
whenever it comes to that. I love to escape in a book.
When I had kids.
Yeah, it's harder to read whenever you have kids
Yes.
because you just have so much going on. But gosh, I really do. We should get back into that.
We really
We
should.
should hold ourselves
really
accountable for that because
Yeah.
I love a good book because it feels
Me
like
too.
you can escape a little bit. You create your own world that you're in that book, and it can be very nice to have that escape mentally.
Yes.
But to still physically be there.
Yeah. Something else I think would be really important for first-time moms is to find somebody who supports you wholeheartedly. And that can be hard because most of the time it's our husbands, don't get us wrong. But if you can find somebody that you can relate to, even if that's trying to find a mom's group, that doesn't work for everybody. But sometimes getting out of the house, that helped me a lot. When I first had my son, was finding a mom's group or just talking to people who are going through the same thing that you've gone through. So for me and Paige, we both had newborns at the same time recently. So like when her daughter was born, mine was 4 months old. And so having that, like we relate to each other was so wonderful. Like, I'm going through it. I just went through that, was really great to have.
It's also nice to have somebody validate the struggles of
Absolutely.
motherhood through it too.
Yes.
A question, as you mentioned mom groups. Are you talking about Facebook mom
Absolutely
groups?
not.
Oh my gosh, thank goodness, because that was the biggest mistake I made as a first-time mother, was joining a Facebook mom group.
No, those are hard because you can put anything on there and people will bash you. Yes. They're scary. I was on those and I got so scared because I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. Oh my God. No, I'm talking a real local mom group. So a lot of people don't know is that there are other moms in your community who are ready to hang out with you. So when I first started mom's group, Bear was 8 months old and we got together for coffee. It was wonderful. There was like 20 kids and we just would meet up every week. And that you can just find usually online looking for mom groups. That's like not everybody's
mommy and me stuff.
That's not everybody's forte, right?
Right.
But sometimes if you have nobody else.
I don't want to hang out with strangers.
Right. But I needed it. Like I needed to find myself through other people. Like I just did.
I should be more open-minded to that because, obviously I live far away from many family and friends that I have other than you. You're the closest friend to me and you're still a good 20-minute drive down the road. So it's hard for me because I don't have an in-person village. I spend a lot of time with my husband's ex-wife. That's my closest friend. So, which is great. She's wonderful. But at the same exact time, I wish that I had, somewhere I could go with a group of friends,
I'm telling
walk
you,
in the park.
it probably saved me as a mother, finding people.
Maybe it's something
And
I'll consider.
it's because I had nobody. At this time, I wasn't like on the internet now I am now, and I found a community on the internet, but I was lonely. Motherhood is lonely. It's going to be the loneliest thing you're going to do. And it's isolating and it's hard. And so meeting up with people even for 2 hours during a nap window really helped me a lot. And if you're feeling like it's overwhelming, going to places with other moms is really helpful. And you'll find people you click with. You won't click with all of them, but it was really important for me to get out of the house for my mental health. I've always been social, but
I think it just also comes like being a mom in general and then going into those groups. There's just so many things that people draw a line on, like breastfeeding versus bottle feeding.
Oh my goodness.
Like all of those things I could just go on and on about this as we compare different things that people will just die on the hill of if you're not for or against some things. And I just think that can be so hard too, to find mom friends that are like-minded to you, that are just like, you're on your journey and I'm on mine, and my child needs what my child needs, and vice versa type situation.
Right.
That can be very, very difficult. So if you find yourself in those toxic situations where you're just trying to survive, I mean, genuinely, we're all trying to survive in the newborn stage, and you feel like the people that are around you are judging you, I highly suggest finding new people.
Absolutely. I have learned that a lot, and I am very strong in telling my other friends now to not surround yourself with people who bring you down or are going to cause negativity on your mind or your mental health, because that's the most important thing you can take care of.
Right, or judge your motherhood journey. Because you're learning. We're all learning. They did not hand us a handbook
my goodness.
at the hospital. Man, we are all learning.
They just put a baby in our hands. We're like, oh, you're a parent now.
Here you go. Congratulations. When they tell you don't make adult decisions because without, adult consequences, they meant it.
Yes. But being a mother has been the best thing I've ever done in my life.
I agree. I feel like I was genuinely meant to be a mom.
Same.
Yeah. I feel like wholeheartedly, although I loved my career before I became a mother, now it feels like my purpose is to be a mother. And it gives my life hope that it didn't have before.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you're a mom that you're the mom that you've always wanted.
Yeah.
And I love being a mom. And now that we chose to be foster parents and take in children, it's been something that I've really realized, because I'm like, I keep saying yes. Mm-hmm. I keep showing up.
Yeah.
And so I've been a mother. I've talked about this before, to 12 different children of all different ages. And it has been the best thing I've ever done in my life, is showing up for children who don't have a mom at the moment.
Fulfilling.
Yeah. Taking that place of a mom, they do have one, and I can't fill that place, but stepping up to be that, in between, to me, has become one of the most important things I could ever do.
And you're changing those children's lives. You have no idea. And even if they only remember tiny little pictures of you in their brain, you did something for them that they wouldn't have had in that moment.
And the way that, me and my husband, our family pour into them, they're just our kids. We treat them as just our kids. We respect their family. We respect their going home. But we treat them as the way they should be treated, which is just in a loving family. And that has been, like, the greatest impact on me as a mother. So, but I've had a long journey of motherhood.
What's your hardest struggle as a mother now with a 7-year-old?
Oh, goodness. 7 is rough, y'all.
Wait till they're 16.
7 is rough. He thinks he's 16. My struggle now is balancing everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like he needs a lot of one-on-one time with me and my husband. I feel like it's so important at this age. Like, he is on the verge of just becoming this whole person.
Yeah.
Like, he's still young, but he's, like, big, and it's just hard. And I have a hard time balancing, like, am I spending enough time in these areas of my life? Balance is really rough for me, like giving to my husband, giving to Bear, giving to the children I bring into my home. And so that's where I've been struggling the most, is balancing everything and making sure that everyone's feelings feel heard. Like, giving my whole family time to feel like they're getting the love they need from mama, because that can be really rough. Mama's a run thin.
Right.
And so I have a hard time with that, but I feel like if I'm worried about it, that means I'm trying my best. And
absolutely. There's no mom who is not worried about it is actually trying.
Right. I feel
maybe
like
that's
I'm trying.
not worded right.
Like we always say, we're trying our best, and I really am. Like, I show up every day trying to, like, have the day be a great day. Like, I forget about if it was a hard day. I show up every day with a positive attitude.
Yeah.
And so
if I feel like you having that worry though genuinely makes you a good mom.
Right.
Because we've said it before. If you just think you're a good mom
for
and you
sure.
have no worry at all,
Yeah.
you know, my mom thought she was great.
And we can be confident in our motherhood, right? Like, we're great mothers.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I'm like, oh
am I doing
God.
enough?
He's
I think
7. What did I say? You know, like
I
questioning.
think it comes with the questioning always.
Yes.
Always. And it's like, I know that I'm doing my best and I know that I am a good mom, but could I be better?
Yeah. And I'm learning every day.
And how could I be better?
Like, I've never had a 7-year-old.
Never.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, heck, I stepped in and had a 9 and a
Oh,
10-year-old.
yeah, for sure.
All of a sudden, and that was very intense. And now with the teenage years, man, that's
I can't
a
imagine.
whole other ball.
I'm already
game.
like checking my like emotion and smiles. Like he'll say something that I'm like, well, you shouldn't say, but I'm like,
Oh yeah, it gets worse as they get older for sure because they get funnier.
he started saying bruh, and I was like, you're 7.
Vance says, bruh. Try to wake up your teenager. Bruh, are you kidding me? 30 more minutes. I mean, it's just the most dramatic reaction I've ever seen, but it's also very fun. I like to think that from like 1 to 13, we did a lot of parenting, right?
Yeah.
We did a lot of teaching,
Yeah.
like this is how you do this, this, and this. And now it's more guiding.
Okay.
They're responsible for who they are
Yeah.
and they have their own likes and dislikes and I can't control that.
Yeah.
I have to let them discover who they are as a person and not get in the way
Absolutely.
of that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's more guiding them to make the
Yeah.
right choices for
makes
their
sense.
life, but while also not interfering with their own
Mm-hmm.
personal journey. It can be very intense because teenagers have a tendency to
Absolutely.
talk back. And it can be very hard as a parent to hear a teenager disagree with you.
Right.
And you also have to stop and think to yourself, are they disagreeing with me
That's right.
for attitude? Mm-hmm. Or do I need to listen to
them.
this?
Yeah.
Because I'm still teachable.
That's right.
I am not
That's right.
perfect. And my child teaches me things every single day.
Yep.
And I check in with them
Yes.
to make sure that I am constantly doing the best that I can for them.
Yeah.
And even though it's a hard road to navigate, of course, because you want to be in control.
Yeah.
You want to make all the decisions for them. At the exact same time, it's also very rewarding to watch your child make the right decision on their own because of the values that they've had all those years.
Yeah.
And that can just be so rewarding.
Yeah. It's so interesting because you have such a range of children in your home, and so
Big gap.
My goodness.
Big gap.
So she must be real tired.
Very tired, very, very.
And
We
you're
have
showing
the
up so
teenage
well.
things and the toddler things and
Yes.
the baby things. And
Yes.
all of the stuff, but it's also just so much fun. It's
It
fun
is.
to be
It
in
is
every
so
single
fun.
phase.
Yes.
It's cool to see the humans they become too.
Yeah.
Because they're a person. They're not just my child. I don't own them.
Yeah.
They are going
Yeah.
off on their own, hopefully, at the age of 18
Yeah.
and not 40. But
It's so fun to see them like be their own little selves. Like Bear, who's 7, like he has such this personality.
Yeah.
Like he's a rock star.
Vance,
like
too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that. And you're like, dang, my kid's cool.
I
Like,
love that Bear does the rock star stuff because at Vance's
know.
age, he did the same thing. He was in the same school. He had the same rock and roll phase, and it's just my favorite ever. Now we're in the football phase.
I love
The
it.
football and girls phase. We've
Enjoying
got
what our
first
kids do is so
girlfriend.
fun. Like being that mom, like I'm just enjoying what y'all are going through.
Yeah.
And I get to do it all over again. Like I love all of the things that are involved in motherhood. Of course, parenting is hard. The hardest part of it.
It's also still so fun.
It's so fun. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, there's so much more light in it.
It becomes crazy too as they get older and you start to look at colleges.
Oh goodness, I can't even imagine.
And you think about them going away.
I can't even imagine.
Oh man! And then right now, Vance, this is the first week he's driven to school all week long.
You have so many huge milestones going on. Oh my
man,
God, I'm
just
like,
huge milestones in my
gosh.
life right now, and there's nothing like the anxiety of knowing your baby's like driving off
I know.
in its own vehicle, especially where we live.
I know.
I grew up in a smaller town. We had 2 lanes on the
this is-
whole highway. This highway has 6 lanes
Yes.
and a tollway and all sorts of stuff. I don't even like driving on
Right.
there. I've been driving for 16 years darn near. I cannot. When I think about it, I'm just like, oh, please. Please protect my children, please. And I, you hope that you instill in them, like, be aware.
Yeah.
Don't be on your phone. Don't be on
Yeah.
the radio. Make the right decisions. But ultimately, it does come with a lot of fear as you let go.
Absolutely. It's like that fear never leaves you.
It doesn't. It never will. And I'm certain I'll get the fear that, he'll go off to college or, something.
What's he doing?
Right. Is he making the right decisions? God, please don't make the decisions that I made. You just hope that your children are always safe.
That's all we can hope.
As someone who was, darn near dying in a field
goodness.
At a party, in her younger years. I can only hope he's not as adventurous.
That's right.
But at the same time, it's kind of a rite of passage that he does this on his own. I have to eventually step back and hope that the things that we have done over the years will teach him to make the right choices.
I love that so much. Cool. Motherhood is a journey.
It's cool, but it's a journey. It is hard. It's hard, and it's tiring.
It is.
Being a newborn mom is so tiring. Being a toddler mom is tiring. Being a teenage mom is tiring. A child.
All the stages come with different
you're gonna be
challenges. You're gonna be tired.
You're gonna be tired. But you're also gonna be so in love.
Oh.
So in love. There's no love like that to me. I don't feel like I really genuinely understood unconditional love until I looked at my child.
I agree.
And now I feel like it also helps me love Mark a little bit more.
Yeah.
As weird as that sounds. It's like because I was capable of falling in love with this child so much, now I know
what it is.
What it's like to be in love. And it just changed everything for me.
Yeah, same.
It's a fun journey, but don't get me wrong, sisters. It's hard. It's hard.
They say there's no hood like the motherhood because we are in the trenches.
In the trenches, man. Living in the gutter.
We are.
Oh, man.
Motherhood is crazy.
But I don't think we'd give it up for the
Absolutely
world.
not. Best thing I've ever
even
done.
a little bit.
No.
Well, this was a fun episode.
So fun.
Episode 6. Can you believe it? Look at us.
Just look at us.
Look at us. Look at us. Oh, man, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching today. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe on Apple or Spotify, or you can watch it on YouTube.
And as always, you guys, keep the giggles going.
And the love flowing.
And until next time.
Mom knows best.
Or at least,
she's trying her best.